Thanks for tuning in to the Unaffiliated Creators Podcast. I'm your host, K.A. Every Day. This is the end of yard, a safe place, so take off your shoes, get comfortable, and stay a while. Do us a favor and please rate the show. And if you have any feedback for us, please email us at unaffiliatedcreatives@gmail.com. I told y'all, so this is my first podcast episode where I'm definitely doing an in-person interview. We outside. You can see the background. You see the bamboo trees. You see what we doing out here. But anyway, I just wanted to put that out there. But with all that being said, now that everybody has gotten comfortable and taken off their shoes, Soberthedj, what you been up to?
Yo, check, Mike. Check, it's your boy Soberthedj, a.k.a. the guy with the vibes, man. I'm here with Unaffiliated. Listen, I have been a busy man, a very busy man. I'm actively, not even trying to, change the culture on the music scene in Virginia, okay? I've been collaborating with a lot of different people. I've been doing a lot of different shows, festivals, working on my album, a lot. It's a big collaborative effort in pushing this culture forward. Yeah.
I like that. That's why I wanted to interview you, man, because I saw a lot of things that definitely piqued my interest. So I was like, yo, this guy got a lot going on, and he ain't trying to do what everybody else doing, so we're going to get into it.
Absolutely.
So let me start off by asking you this. So what's the meaning behind Soberthedj? Like, what's the meaning of your stage name?
So Sober came from a guy I used to work with, actually used to write for back in the day, back in my Army days. Back in 2013, 14. But anyway, I didn't smoke or drink. I was like the only person in the room ever that didn't smoke or drink. But I didn't have a DJ name. High school, I was DJ Life. That was a own to currency with Jet Life. And I thought it was cheesy after I left high school, obviously. And he was like, yo, we got to come up with a name. Fast forward, Sober comes up. DJ Sober exists already. It's somebody in Texas. Shout outs to him. We've been in communication over the years just because people will tag me with his name. He's like, yo, bro, you got to change your name or whatever. Label deals got put on the table, and then legality, I had to change it. So I just Soberthedj as opposed to DJ Sober, and it stuck.
Okay. So the reason why I wanted to ask that question is because when I saw the name, I was like, is his name got something tied to do with the fact that he stopped drinking alcohol? Because normally when you hear the name, when you hear the name Sober, that's kind of what the definition is. So I was like, I wonder, is there like a deeper meaning? So that's why I wanted to ask you.
Well, I mean, it is, though. It's grown into its own deeper meaning. Naturally, I did get tied to, like during coronavirus, I got lumped into all the sobriety communities. I was on different podcasts, talking to people who are in recovery, and they're like, how do you stay sober? How do you, so that kind of took its own way. But the term sober, at its root, it's not necessarily just from intoxicants. It's just having positive energy, good frequencies coming in, like organic sounds, not having like no filters over your creation, over just self. So, yeah.
I like that. So the next question I wanted to ask you is, if it's not too personal, tell us something about yourself that most people don't know already.
Didn't see that one coming. Okay, something about myself. I'm extremely empathetic, in the sense of I don't do things without the consideration of how it will affect someone else or others as a whole. So I know I'm like this trailblazing guy. I'm always like, man, I'm ready to go. But I've already calculated how will it affect everybody around me first and foremost, and then pushing it out to the public as far as how it will affect everybody. So I'm extremely empathetic. Yep.
All right, so it might take you a couple of minutes to unpack this one. So this was something that you shared with me off camera, but I just kind of want to just talk about it real quick. So you told me that this is the first interview/podcast that you've done this year. And I want to take the time to thank you for choosing this platform, Unaffiliated Creators Podcast, to come on. We're making history. With that being said, I just kind of wanted to ask you either what's the reason behind why you haven't done any interviews so far this year, and, why did you choose this platform over other platforms that you could have went on?
Well, I'm not going to say that it was a choice not to go on others, but I definitely chose this one on purpose, which we'll get to. But I think it's a combination of a lot of different things, man. It stems back to people when they see me, there's a level of, for lack of a better term, intimidation. Because it's like when you see somebody doing their thing and they're comfortable and they're like really confident, it's kind of, you almost don't want to mess with that because maybe you're not as confident or whatever the case may be. And that's a deterrent from a lot of people from approaching me like, hey, can I interview you? To XYZ, they might think I'm going to turn them down or they're not cool enough. And that's a part of the mission to shatter that whole facade of like, there's level. I mean, there are levels, but like, you can approach me too, you know? So I think that's a part of the factor. And I haven't actively tried to go get on other people's podcasts. So that might be a part of it too, kind of a double thing. But now as far as why did I choose you guys? I saw the work, man. I saw the work. It was passively just, you know, I see a lot of stuff on my timeline, but every so often I would see you interviewing someone. I think you were doing it via Zoom only, right? Yeah. I would see that and I'm like, okay, this is cool. And some of the people that you were interviewing, I was like, man, okay, that was actually some good questions, whatever the case may be. And then, you know, just over time, we just made sense and now we're here. And then naturally, even just the approach after we agreed to do it, you double back like, hey, man, still want to do it? Like, you know, and I know just career-wise, I just was really busy, but you were like, yo, you still want to do it? I'm very interested. So it's like, all right, man, let's make it happen. Matter of fact, that conversation took place, yesterday? Day before yesterday?
Yeah, I wasn't going to bring it up, but since he kind of alluded to it, so I kind of got in my feelings, y'all. I'm going to be honest with y'all. On this show, I like to be, you know, open, honest, and transparent. So I reached out to this guy months ago, but, you know, he's super busy. He DJing in all the hottest spots, hottest clubs and everything, so he ain't got time for little people like me. So I hit him up and was like, yo, man, I want to get you on the show. And he was like, oh, yeah, man, you know, we can do that. You know, let's set it up. And then I didn't hear from him. So I felt like I got ghosted. I was like, yo, man, I know this dude didn't get me all excited. I think I'm about to do this interview with this guy. And then I don't hear from him for months. But then something told me, I was like, you know what, man, I'm going to circle back. I'm going to circle back because I really wanted to get this interview with this guy because he's doing something special.
I appreciate you for circling back, for sure.
I reached out to him again, and it just worked out, you know, with his schedule. You know, he was like, look, man, I got a couple of days. But I ain't going to be tearing up the club every night, man. So you better catch me now because in a couple of days, I'm about to be on a world tour, and you ain't going to be able to catch me. So I said, all right, man, let's do it. So that's why, if you look at this video, we're in the middle of the woods, bamboo. I'm getting ate up by mosquitoes. So when y'all look at this video, you see me doing the mosquito dance, you'll know why. All right, so let me ask you this. So what inspired you to want to even start creating music?
Music. The love of music. My life has been surrounded by music. Growing up in Boston, I mean, back in them days, man, Blue Hill Avenue, you couldn't go nowhere without hearing somebody blaring music here, people dancing on the sidewalk, the whole nine. So that's been my foundation. Naturally, shout outs to my father, too. He's a DJ. Well, he still is a DJ. Once a DJ, always a DJ, but he was going a lot harder back then, naturally. So that's always been a part of me, too. And then just fast forward, man, that's a open-ended question, but I'll cut it up a little bit. So fast forward, I found myself in a publishing deal. Okay, I was just writing for people, and I didn't like what I was hearing in the game, right? And then that deal went sour and things of that nature. Typical story. I didn't like what I was hearing, and I know what the people like because I'm a DJ. So I'm like, okay, if I go here, these people like to hear this, I can make that. So that was that. I just started to fill in the voids in the game, and I ended up creating my own lane and building up my fan base, and, you know, all is going well with it. Heck yeah.
All right, so I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't go out there and do some research and kind of figure out exactly what you got going on. So on one of your social media pages, you put something on there a while back, and I think you've actually changed it since then. You probably got some heat for it, so that's why I would ask you the question.
Tell me.
So you basically put something, I'm paraphrasing, but you basically stated that you're the first DJ to also be a recording artist. So I just wanted to ask you, can you take a couple of minutes and just talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's not that I'm the first DJ to be a recording artist, because shout out to Ludacris. I mean, that has happened. Lubba Lubba, he was on the radio. You know, there's a lot of them. There's a lot of them. That list is almost endless. But it was more so here that I know of from this area. I'm the first DJ, actual disc jockey, to put out records with my own vocals, as in create a song, engineer, and put out my own vocals that I've heard. I know there's a lot of different DJs who make beats. There's a lot of different DJs who's been on records, but to put out an entire album with my own songs, I haven't heard it. And if it does exist, please send it to me, whichever camera, please send it to me, just because I would like to get some game from that person. They might, went through some hurdles that I can avoid if they, put me on. But from what I know, yeah, it's me. Yeah.
So I initially wasn't going to ask you this question, but you kind of just brought it up. So I did want to. So now I'm going to ask you. So the fact that you're a DJ and you were just saying that DJs do also make beats, are the beats on your projects? Are you the one that's doing all the beats, or do you have other guys that are, doing beats for you?
So it's a collaborative effort. But some of them, I'll say about three of the songs, for sure, I was a part of, like, the start to finish of that beat making process. I don't like to sit and make beats anymore. Like that whole, like putting it all together. I don't have the patience, man. Like, but I'll quickly say, hey, producer who does this every day, who knows exactly how to work it, I need you to do this with the bass line. Boom, boom, boom. And, and just direct him, and then he'll polish it up and make it how it's supposed to be. But yeah, as far as my project goes, man, it's a collaborative effort. A lot of different producers, beats coming from different sources. And yeah, it is a phenomenal project, man. I have to let you hear some stuff before we leave.
Okay.
Like, yeah.
So I wanted to ask you this. So which one did you start doing first? Did you start DJing first, or did you start recording music? Or trying to be a recording artist?
So what's crazy is I actually was going to be a rapper first. Kindergarten. This is Boston. I'm in Mattapan, kindergarten. My first rap. There you go. You getting the exclusive, right? Boom, drop a bomb. My first rap was, my name is Brian, and I'm not lying. My mama said, come here, and I said, why you crying? And I just knew that was going to get me out the hood. I was going to get famous from them bars from 6. And I used to just like practice performing and just little stuff. But naturally over the years, DJing was more prevalent, and it just took on a moniker of its own. But the artist was always in me, for sure.
All right. So speaking of artists, I wanted to ask you this question. Are there any artists that have influenced you or have influenced your music in any way?
Of course. I wouldn't say there's any artist that's influenced my actual creation of music, like my sound, but there are plenty of artists who have influenced or something to look at and admire. I.e., you have Ninja Man, these dancehall artists. You have Ninja Man, you have Vibes Cartel, you have Tory Lanez, you have Earl Sweatshirt. A lot of these people, the common denominator between all of them is they adapted their own. They were their own person. They brought something different to the game. It wasn't like this is already popping, let me just do my own version of this. It was like, hey, I'm a somebody. I'm going to give you me. And in that process, they took a lot of fight back, a lot of like side-eyeing in the beginning, but they ended up being, monumental to the music industry. Look up any of those names, especially Ninja Man. That's my guy. Yeah, I have an excerpt from him on one of my songs too, so shout out Ninja Man.
So the reason why I asked you that question is because, of course, when I looked at your stuff, you reminded me of somebody, so I just wanted to share it with you.
Oh, snap.
You actually reminded me of Tyler, the Creator.
Wow.
You ain't never got that? So
I've never gotten that, but high school me, Tyler, the Creator was it. Odd Future was it, but that same, so this is why people got to watch what they intake. That's just crazy you said that, because that mindset, that trailblazing mindset is exactly what I was just describing. And he's like a poster child of that mindset of F this, F that. This is what we're doing. If you don't like it, F you too. And that's kind of sort of where I was at with it. Granted, I'm a little more polished than that, a little more positive with the message than that. But yeah. That's wild, man. Thank you for that. That's great. Thank you.
I'm gonna be honest with you. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to interview you, because when I was looking at the music videos and just looking at different stuff you did, I could see that there was a conscious effort to break out of the norm of what everybody else was doing, and
Absolutely.
You always made sure that whatever it was something that was super creative about it. And I was like, man, that's refreshing. I like the fact that he ain't trying to do what everybody else doing. I said, I got to really interview this guy to really, get a better sense of, why he chose to do that and what it's all about. So I'm glad I asked you that question.
Shout out James, man. That's my guy. We do videos together. Shout out James.
So I asked you this question off camera, but everybody else didn't get the opportunity to hear that conversation. So I'm just going to ask you here so now the audience will get the answer.
Okay.
Would you consider yourself a singer or a rapper?
I don't know, man. I'll say it like this. In dancehall, this is Jamaican realm, I would be considered a sing J, right? Because like a DJ would be like the rapper of it. The sing J would be, it's not a singer, but it's like a melodic rapper, if anything. So I'll take that before anything. I would just consider myself just an artist, man, because on this album, you're going to hear a little bit of rapping. You're going to hear some like almost poetry. You'll hear singing for sure. It's kind of like a D all the above, depending on what the beat's given that day. Yeah.
Well, the reason why I asked that question is because when I went and listened to some of your music, I could tell that, you were singing. I mean, it had a melody. It was melodic. But some of them had like a flow to it. It just was kind of like the rhythm of how you was going about, singing the song. So I was like, well, is he a singer or is he a rapper or do he do both? So that's why I just figured out to ask that question.
That's great that you picked up on that. It's so wild, like, to hear this, like, because when a lot of creatives, like, when they're in their house figuring the ish out and they're like, oh, what am I going to give them? And then somebody actually gets it. It's a huge compliment. So first of all, thank you for getting it. And that is exactly what that is. I have like my writing, and there's a couple artists who've picked it up too. I've been working with out here. My music is inspired from those different elements. So like I was saying, like those different artists from Ninja Man to Earl Sweatshirt, there's a huge, like a spectrum. So like to have that hip hop flow, those different entendre, double entendres, whatever, like just those little pockets of just like a repetitive melody or whatever, or pocket of flow. Those things are important to me in music. And then naturally, to make it aesthetically pleasing, you polish it up a little bit. So I'm not like, yo, check it. I might be, but it's still in that pocket where you like, ooh, you know what I mean? And the beat's going to give you what it's supposed to give you. It's kind of like no matter what you like, you'll find it in a song. And at least you might only like that one part of the song, but you like the song. You know what I mean? So yeah, that was definitely done on purpose. And that's fire. You picked up on that. Heck yeah.
All right, so this might take us a couple of minutes to really unpack this, and I'm gonna give you a couple of scenarios or a couple of examples so you can really kind of get what I'm asking you.
Okay.
So I wanted to ask you, with the fact that we just celebrated the 50th anniversary of hip hop, how do you feel about the current state of hip hop? And I'm gonna give you a couple of examples. So you had, Cola Ray just put out an album. Now, mind you, she had one of the biggest songs in TikTok history as far as like how viral it went, but yet her first week of album sales, it was only like 10,000 downloads, right? Then you have the situation like Lil Baby, where, most people would consider him being one of the biggest rap artists besides Drake out right now, but yet he done had to cancel several tour dates because I guess he wasn't able to sell out, arenas and stuff like that. So I just wanted to ask you, and I wanted to kind of ask you and kind of shed light on the fact that here it is now, 10 years, and we're still hearing the same trap sound.
Mm-hmm.
It's been 10 years, and trap music, when it comes to hip-hop, is still kind of like the sound. Like, of course, there's a couple of artists that do different stuff. You got your Kendricks, you got your Coles, you got Tylers.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, it seems like the industry everybody's trying to be like everybody else because everybody's just trying to chase that algorithm. And the record labels are kind of like, hey, we've proven that this works. So everybody's like, well, let's just keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. So with all that being said, I know it sounded like I was doing a lot of rambling. How do you feel about the current state of hip hop?
I mean, you answered your own question in a sense, man. It's okay. The people, and obviously that's the consumers, the people, us as the fans, we don't feel it anymore. It's not that we don't hear it, that we're not rocking with it so often. I mean, if this is all we have, we'll pick the best from the worst. But realistically, I don't want to go to so-and-so's show. I'm not naming anybody's names, but I don't want to go to so-and-so's show just to hear you just pass the mic out or whatever. Like, there's people on this local level right here where we're at that are really putting on some phenomenal shows, that are really giving people bang for their buck. And naturally, these people are overpricing like heck. Like, they're like, oh, I get X amount of money for a show, but now to make that money back, promoter has to charge people $500-$600 for the general admission. And it's like, bro, what am I getting for said general admission? So from the live aspect, that's the problem. And then as far as the music itself, when you're saying like the same sound, and if it's not broke, don't, oh, shout out to that car alarm. If it's not broke, don't fix it type scenario, again, the people aren't feeling it anymore, bro. Like, it's like those frequencies, okay, as a whole, again, the consumers have got in touch with frequencies. Just that alone is going to be a whole nother, you can have a podcast, just podcast alone on just frequencies. But they've gotten tuned with that, and they're realizing like, yo, this music doesn't make me feel good. Like, even the hood dudes that I know, when they come to my events, I can play a Steve Lacy record, and they're like, oh, this is my ish. They're like, yo, I love this song. So it's like, what is the mission when the song was made? Are you making this to make the people feel good? Or are you just making this just to check a block to say you made it? But they have to figure that out. But the people are starting to stray away from the facades, man. Like, just making the music just to say they made it. We're like, we're not rocking with that anymore. Like, we want to go with music with feeling. That's why you're starting to see a resurgence of artists like the Tylers, like the Kendricks, like the Earl Sweatshirt, where they're starting to get pushed to the underground is the new mainstream. And that's like more prevalent than ever now. So yeah, man, I think the current state of hip hop, to get back to actually answering your question, is mainstream hip hop is in shambles. In shambles, and I don't use the term lightly, is in shambles. But hip hop as a whole is stronger than ever because it's gone back to its roots of being its own independent entity. Of we didn't do hip hop to appease the masses. We did it to appease ourselves, to feel good, to make it to the next day, to end violence, to just come together. Shout out to James Brown. I mean, granted, it wasn't hip hop, but that's one of the pioneers, was it? Shout out to Daddy Grace. Well, he got his situation from, and that's another conversation. But all of that, like, it's we're now using the music and using our art and culture for what it was made for, and what it's become isn't it. So that's why a lot of the industry is running wild, man. It's running wild. It's sadly, but it's running wild. Mainstream, I think they're just gonna have to tap into what's really going on, and like anything, it's marketable. Don't get me wrong. Like, the money's there, but they're just gonna have to change the mindset and the direction of how they do it, the plan of attack, for it to actually work for them in their favor.
All right, so now that we done talked about everybody just repeating the same cycle over and over again, now let's transition into your music, because obviously, like I said, your music is a breath of fresh air. It sounds different than a lot of things that's out. So take a couple of minutes and talk to the audience about your song titled Melodies.
Oh, alrighty. Melodies. I don't know where I was when I made Melodies. I can honestly tell you, I don't know why I made Melodies, but I do know what Melodies is about. It's actually, it's similar, it's synonymous with that question. There are a lot of repetition in the game, but I choose to tap into melodies. And I said, okay, matter of fact, I got it now. It stemmed from an interview that Future did. Excuse me, shout out to Future. He was talking about his process on how he makes hooks, right? It's like, he has it's very elementary process of how he does it with, not fairy tales, what are they called? Nursery rhymes, right? Those like flows, those repetitive melodies is what makes the song get caught in your head, the repetition, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, well, how do I do that? And what exactly do I want to happen? And I want the melody to get stuck in the head, and then that begot the hook. And then the actual verses, man, it's just me just talking on what I see, like kind of just taking that screenshot in the moment of what I was thinking about, what I see, even down to the video. Again, shout out to James. We ended up being able to portray that same energy from the song via imagery, and it was just me. It was just me and some dope shots. We were out and about. It was all shot 100% in Virginia. Matter of fact, no, one scene was in Chesapeake, but it was mainly in Virginia Beach. The record is it's just a screenshot of my mindset in that moment and my mindset moving forward of, hey, don't put my music in a box. The whack stuff is out. Like, we're not rocking with it again. Again, it's synonymous to your question of like, hey, this is the new norm, and this is what it's going to be, especially if you're dealing with me. So yeah, that record is a lot deeper than most would think. But yeah.
All right, man. I gotta give this guy a round of applause for that, man. That song, like, I would advise anybody, if you got some time in your day, go check the song out. The song is amazing.